Well, I thought we'll first talk a little bit more about ourselves and introduce ourselves. Atisha, you wanna go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Atisha Gupta. I'm a senior structural engineer at Bureau Happold in Mumbai. I have a background in structural engineering and architectural studies from the University of Sheffield.
Ah.
And
Oh, very good.
yeah,
That's where,
Which you went to
that's where
Sheffield.
I studied, yes.
Did you study at Sheffield as well? Sorry,
I did, yes. Best university, I think.
best university in the world.
Apart from UCL, where I now work.
Absolutely. And I personally am very passionate about this particular project because even in my previously I was at Arab and I was sort of heading the community engagement in India. So it's something that I'm quite close to, and it sort of blends my various areas of interest. So I'm quite excited to sort of take this ahead with Obed and SCAD. Jack, do you want to go next?
Thank you, Tisha. I'm Jack Rose. I'm an associate at Bureau Happold. I'm based nominally out here in Riyadh. And my background is in civil engineering, Southampton University, and then I have an MBA from Trinity College in Dublin. And I'm sort of a generalist consultant for Bureau Happold out here. So I get involved in some pretty exciting stuff. So my background actually is my recent project, my most recent project, which is in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. Pretty excited. And just in terms of this particular involvement, you know, the three of us are just pretty excited about this area of development. So this is why I'm involved in it.
Jack, would you like to mention to the studio, because we came to get across each other because of the studio?
Yes. So C-Lab and myself and Vimal are part of and Atisha actually, we're a part of the C-Lab research group in Bureau Happold. And C-Lab is meant to be a very experimental space in which to try out new things, new exciting things, or apply old things in new places. So we went out to Eindhoven as part of, what are they called?
The Academy of Urbanism Congress.
Academy of Urbanism. Thank you very much, Nick. And so we were out there as part of sort of our regular field trips to discover and explore. And Eindhoven was a pretty exciting place. And Nick and the rest of the team sort of came across each other at one very nice afternoon lunch at the end of the field trip. We started discussing. Yes, absolute complete chance. So we started talking about the work that Nick is doing, the work that we're doing, and just happened that there was a good crossover. So this is essentially why we are here today, at least the Bureau Happold side and the rest of the team. So just that one chance happening in Eindhoven.
Thanks, Jack. Well, I introduced myself yesterday, but I'm just gonna repeat it, I guess. So I work as an associate in structural engineering in Hong Kong. I basically grew up in India, and most of my education is done in different parts of India. I'm passionate about structural engineering and basically its application to see the kind of impact it could make on the society. And frankly, the past few months I had been passionate about the sustainability aspect and the embodied carbon aspect and how it impacts the whole climate change, how it fits into that. And yes, pretty excited about this particular sprint and what we could contribute to this bigger vision. Okay, so that's about us. So I'm not going to go through the sprint details because we covered that yesterday, but just to quick wrap up that we are going to basically focus today's session on goal setting aspect, which is the first step of a business planning aspect. And we are basically going to do 2 sprint sessions. So the sprint A, or the first sprint, is focused on why a center for sustainability. The outcome, the best outcome that could come out of it is basically help SCAD and help Urbit to formulate the vision for this particular project. So that's the outcome we are aiming at out of this sprint. And the sprint B or the second sprint will be focused on what is the Center for Sustainability, which is basically getting into the details of what kind of activities will be held in a center. So we're gonna do 40 minutes for sprint A and sprint B. Both are going to be like independent events, and uh, so as part of the sprint A, as we covered yesterday, that we are basically acting as facilitators, and we'll be using a lot of chat um, from Zoom to do the sprint. So the idea is that for the first sprint, so we're basically asking the question that why we the participants or the stakeholders want to set up a center for sustainability. To answer this question, basically we want all the participants to put the answers in the chat box and direct these answers to Atisha. Atisha is going to help in collating these answers in our uh, Excel sheet, which we have put together to carry out this sprint. When we do this exercise, we are also going to look at what themes are emerging out of these answers, and we are going to collate and organize these answers in themes like theme A, theme B, theme C. We are going to explain it to you that what are these themes once everyone has put down their answers and we have collated it, and then we are going to put it for voting. For voting purpose, we are going to paste a link in the chat box, and everyone can basically click on that link, and then you will see all the ABC options coming up on your screen, and you can then prioritize them. Basically, you just have to drag which one is the most important for you, and the second important, and the third important. We are basically focusing on first three, but feel free to prioritize all the themes that would come out of it. Uh, once you do that, and we are hoping, we are basically expecting this would take the uh, basically the survey would take around 3 to 4 minutes, and we'll collate that data, and then we'll be talking about what are the insights coming out of it and what conclusions we can draw from it. So basically, first we want to ask everyone this question, that why you want to set up a center for sustainability. And now I want to request everyone to use their chat box in Zoom and answer to this question and direct your answer to Atisha. Yeah, and feel free to give multiple answers. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no limit, and we're gonna put a time limit on this. So the idea is to put around 8 minutes of time limit, so that you can do thinking and put these answers. So basically, we have populated all the answers which have come through the chat, and also we are categorizing them under different themes, um, and basically we are putting these themes for voting in a minute. So we basically see in total 5 themes coming out of it. Um, so we basically total have
26.
26. Uh, that's that's a very good number, and we basically have then categorized
Yeah,
them in different themes, and
exactly. So
basically
if
we
you just,
see them.
yeah,
Yeah, Jack, you want to talk through this?
sure thing. So this is based on the responses that were sent through. So we're seeing just literally in terms of what people are writing, we're seeing comments relating to just purely advancing the sustainability cause. So people wanting to make the planet safer, or at least secure the planet's future. We're also seeing comments relating to either building or sharing knowledge around sustainability or products that are related to sustainability. Then also, so those first two, there were nine comments each relating to each one of those. And then there were a number of comments related to developing products or an income stream that is based on sustainability, or around sustainability. And then two comments that were sort of outliers, I guess, relating to job opportunities. So this is slightly different to our commercial opportunities, and this is more about people, training people to do
Yeah.
certain things, And then the last one with one comment there was about advocacy, which is influence in development, or at least how development occur, with the underlying theme of being sustainability. So these were the sort of broad themes coming out of the discussions. So you can see it's 26 comments there. So what we're going to do next then is we'll send a link to a form. So are we using Microsoft Forms?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the form will then have, so Atisha will put it on the screen. It will then have these 5 themes listed, and all you have to do then is drag them or put them in order. So the top one being the highest priority that you see for the center, and the second one being, of course, the second priority, et cetera, et cetera. Then collectively we'll have a ranking of those priorities.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna quickly show how the form would look like when you open that link. So Atisha has pasted the link in the chat. And this is how it's gonna look like when you open it. And all you need to do is basically, drag these how the way you want it as per what you think should be the first priority, second priority, third priority, and the fifth one. And then you need to click submit button.
Right. Quite interesting responses here, because as we saw that the majority of the results, even on the sort of comments that you shared through, seem to have been towards the knowledge building and sharing, and training and creating job opportunities is quite another interesting one that's come through. The third ranked one is commercial opportunities. The fourth one is advanced sustainability. And the fifth one is advocacy. Um, this seems to be quite in line with the number of comments that were coming through in the previous chat box. So I think that works out well, and it's given us a sort of direction on which themes to focus on. So what we can do in the next session, maybe Vimal can give a little more detail, is that we probably just select the first 3 and talk about those in a bit more detail.
Yeah. So before we move on, there's one interesting observation here. The training and creating job opportunities, which is the rank 2. There was basically one response previously in the chat, but when it's put for voting, then people do feel strongly about it. And also you can notice that the fourth one, which is advanced sustainability cause, and we had basically 9 responses around it.
Yeah.
Uh, but here it ranks 4th, which I guess to some extent kind of makes sense. That I mean, I personally feel that the theme coming out from this is knowledge building and sharing being the top priority, and that seems to be the group's priority at the moment.
Yes. Can I ask? I like the method, but I do feel it may be skewed by the numbers of people
Yeah.
coming from different backgrounds, and I'm particularly concerned that SCAD should have, in a sense, the greatest influence on the
Influence.
results, even though they may not be the greatest number of people participating. So I would very much like to hear whether how Charles's reactions to the results of that survey, or anyone else from SCAD.
Yeah, what I was thinking, this is rather than the priority or anything, this is a very good learning process. We can have a similar exercise within our SCAD team, and maybe the results may be different. We don't know, but it's a very good learning process for a particular the particular thing we are going to do now. That's what I think.
Okay, that sounds absolutely excellent, because it seems to me that this process of agreeing priorities or goals has to engage all the stakeholders or all the community to be really effective. And it needs quite a lot of thinking about what one means, because one's first reaction may be, yes, what we want to do is to be advocates for the cause, and then to think, well, our voice would actually be pretty tiny compared with many others, but one can make a huge difference in the field of training, because that's what SCAD's business is partly about. So I can see that this process could be very useful if it's extended to involve other people and to gradually refined. So congratulations.
I was going to ask, I suppose the number of people from SCAD is quite small because we've only got, what, 4 people. But whether the SCAD results look different from the overall group's results.
Yes, that'd be interesting.
So you've got Ratnavelu, Vilmurugan, Anansi, and Charles here from SCAD. So I wonder if those 4 came out slightly differently from the overall group. Is it possible to check that?
I think we have done the voting anonymously. Let me just check that.
Okay. So we're anonymous. So
Yeah.
my comment was going to be that I thought the results were pretty consistent with an organisation that specialises in what SCAD specialises in. So it seems to me that those were quite appropriate. Those were quite appropriate objectives for SCAD, really, because SCAD is all about sharing knowledge and training people and building job opportunities. That's really what its core business is, I guess, in many ways, and improving quality of life. So it seemed to me that those were quite appropriate things for SCAD to focus on.
Yeah, and also I think that was.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to say, Richard, the second one is about training and creating job opportunities. Does that resonate as well with the theme here, that as being the second priority anyway, just after sharing knowledge? So the first one, I agree, Richard, that seems to be in line with what SCAD is about. But in terms of creating jobs, does that make sense as well?
Absolutely. I mean, SCAD, well, Charles can speak to that better than me, but certainly SCAD's projects out in the villages are very impressively focused on creating work in one form or another for people and paying work, and also improving both living conditions, but also the economic prosperity of the villages, so that they are independently and individually sustainable economically and as well as environmentally. So I think that fits very well. And of course, they run a number of colleges and a university as well. So again, in terms of training, not only do they do that, they've got kind of massive experience of doing it locally. So personally, I think that would fit very well, really. Bearing in mind that the only way SCAD are going to be able to do this is if they can find some ways to generate business opportunities, I think. Because I don't think the government's going to chip in with a grant or anything like that for this. I mean, I could be wrong, but it looks to me as though we'll have to find co-funders, but also business opportunities, I think.
Yes,
Is that fair, Charles?
Yeah, my feeling all along has been that it's vital to increase the productivity of villages. If people are to pay for training, then farmers have to be able to sell products for more money, which means improving productivity. And if people are not to flood to the cities and increase the numbers living in slums, then they have to be able to generate work closer to home. So to my mind, we will never achieve a more sustainable or fairer society if we cannot help ordinary people create more value out of their efforts. Does that make sense?
Yes. So that's the third priority is commercial. So it seems to be going in order of at least the results are fairly in line with what people are saying. But Charles and the SCAD, it would be good to hear whether you are broadly aligned as well with that, because then it would mean that everyone on the call is broadly in agreement.
Yeah, for me, like whatever it's prioritized, it's in line with SCAD's activities. Whatever we are doing, it's there. Like the first one is like knowledge building and sharing. That's what the core idea of the center. Like whatever we have gained, like whatever we have experienced, piloted, and it should be shared with others. So whatever it prioritizes here, it's almost which is well aligned with our themes and organizational like structure, I would say.
That's good. So Vimal, I suppose with this sprint, we now have a view as to what the vision would be, or
Yeah,
is, I should maybe say. And with that in mind, we can move on to sprint 2.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And also, I just wanted to add a point there that yesterday's discussion where Charles had presented a lot about SCAD's vision for the center and what activities it could take up. I mean, I personally feel that the what outcome we see is kind of very much in line with it, because there was such a strong discussion about training and creating job opportunities for people even during the pandemic, and that seeing up there as a second priority, I think is quite good. So so what we gonna do in the second sprint is we are going to take up the first three items of this vision, which are basically knowledge building and sharing. Second one, training and creating job opportunities. And the third one, commercial opportunity. And going to ask people that uh, now you know that what the long term vision is. How would you define this product, or how do you define what a center for sustainability is? So I want people to be very specific while answering this question. So, what would mean um, basically what kind of activities you want the center to do, or how, or let's say to answer the third point, how you think a center could earn a revenue, or and so on. So, feel free and be specific about what programs to run, what activities to be carried out by the center, and kindly put all these answers in the chat box again. Also, can you please direct these answers to myself this time?
Okay. Can I be clear what question we're answering? These are activities to promote all of the three top objectives. Is that right?
Yeah,
Correct.
that's right.
Correct.
So it could be one activity just focusing on one objective. It doesn't need to be focusing on all the three objectives simultaneously. All right. So I'll first show what next steps we are going to do. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Share screen. Okay. So we basically have done the third step where we got the answers from everyone, defining what the center is or what activities it would do. And the next step is basically doing the objective mapping. So we are seeing these are the objectives or these are the tasks the center wants to take up. Now, how do we prioritize these tasks? That's the next step. So first, I'll show you a graph. Okay. So on the x-axis, we have effort, and on the y-axis, we have influence. So the idea is that we plot each of these tasks or priorities or the objectives on this graph. So I think we have received total 34 of these objectives or potential tasks. And the next step becomes, how do we plot them on this graph? So to define effort, uh, so so we are going to use a scale which is 0 to 10 scale for influence and 0 to 10 scale for effort. So with respect to effort, they just do that. That was easier one. So basically 0 is no effort or no investment from SCAD's end. Whatever is the existing staff, existing activities, those are sufficient to take up that particular objective or the task. Then uh, that would be marked as 0. Then as we go from 0 to 10, it's basically increasing effort. So effort in the sense, the manpower or the investment you would need to do to achieve that particular objective. So the two being, the extra effort from the existing staff. So there is no hiring requirement, but some of the people from the existing staff need to put in extra hours, and that kind of converts into dollars. Number 4 being there is a new recruitment of staff required. Number 6 being it's uh, basically buying vehicles or doing some kind of a construction, or it's basically a medium value asset or the medium value investment. 8 being there has to be a hiring of the staffing, and also there has to be an investment. 10 being there is multiple staffing and also high value investment. So that's on the and we need to basically have one person identified from this group who will do who will assign 0 to 10 rating for each of these tasks. And um, Nick, basically we want to know, Nick, Richard, Charles, we want to know who will be that best person to give that rating for effort aspect. Okay. And when we come to the influence aspect, we are basically looking at, by doing that particular activity, or by achieving that particular objective, how much impact do we have on the vision. uh, does that particular activity does not meet any aspect of the vision, then it's basically marked 0. Since everyone was focused on those first 5 items of the vision, I think we will not have anything which is 0. The second one being achieving that particular objective or doing that task means it actually has a minimal impact on the vision, 10%. So how you could define it is it meets one of the 5 aspects of the vision. The 4 being it kind of caters to multiple aspects of the vision, but again not to the fullest extent, to some extent. 6 and 8 are basically again similar, that there are moderate impact on the vision, but it would basically a task, if it has impact on 3 different aspects out of those 5 aspects we looked at of the vision, then we would label it as 6. If it has impact on 4 of them, then it's 8. And if it's basically a task which is focusing on uh, a significant advancement of one particular aspect or significant advancement of all these aspects together, then that's basically number 10 and highest influence objective. Again, we'll have to have a person nominated uh, to do this rating. Person being nominated does not mean the person has to give the number. It just means that the person will take a final call. Obviously, we'll have a discussion right now around each of these activities, but a nominated person basically notes down the points and takes a decision and gives us what's 0 to 10 rating should be for effort and for influence. And Bureau Report basically will take those numbers and plot all those 34 activities in the graph which I showed you, and then we'll basically give you the insights of that. Some Does that make sense? Anyone has any questions?
It seems to me that it should be the SCAD team that provide the marks for efforts, because obviously the rest of us don't really know enough about how SCAD actually operates day to day to know how much effort's involved. So it certainly seems to me that we should ask the SCAD team to do that marking.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, Bimal, if we put up the spreadsheet and then we could do a quick fire going through, because obviously we have about, was it 26 or 36?
36.
36. Yeah.
Yes. So we have about 20 minutes to get through them. So if we, it should be a very quick discussion. Just it is more an informed gut instinct reaction to these. So for the very first one, for example, training masons in sustainable construction, from the SCAD team, how much effort basically on a scale of 0 to 10 is it to implement that? So does it require new people? Does it require buying equipment?
Of course, this one needs a lot of people because uh, at the moment we have tried with only one house. So it needs a lot of training and manpower to create a team. So this needs a lot of effort.
Okay. Okay. So you are suggesting effort-wise it is around 4. It
It'll be
requires you.
around 6 or 8.
Okay. Okay, let's put 6 there. And the influence wise,
Yes. So again, maybe if I just clarify, with regards to influence, what we're trying to say is these tasks will advance the vision that we in the first sprint, we were saying that the
yeah,
vision for the center is to share knowledge, to create jobs, and I think the third one was commercial opportunities. So
yes,
for these tasks, irrespective of the effort, how will they impact that vision? So, for example, if it's training people, I'd say knowledge built in there, for example, it obviously adds quite a lot to that particular vision. So, and I would say 7 or 8, but I think it's for you guys to take a view on just what impact or influence that activity would have on the vision that we've established there.
My view is that if the training of masons or electricians or whatever it may be meets a gap in the labor market, if businesses can either be formed or there are businesses who will employ these people, then the influence will be considerable, because the important thing is to be turning sustainable principles into practical projects which demonstrate a way forward. So I think the influence could be considerable if one can say find the employers to take on people who've learned the skills. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
Mm. So on a scale of 1 to 10, then, Nick?
I would say 7.
okay,
I think I'd give it. I think I'd give it a bit higher than that, Nick, because it's clearly a skills gap that we experienced when we were building the eco home. And if people don't have the skills in the villages, say, to build more ecologically, then the vision won't get achieved. So I'd say it's probably rather higher than that.
Okay,
So
I'll go along.
I'd probably give it an 8, I think, or a 9.
okay, all right. So guys, we go for 8. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we need to do this much more rapidly, and how. So we basically want Charles to say how much effort, and we want either Richard or Nick to say how much influence. If somebody disagrees, then you could basically add that,
Yep.
add your input. So
Okay,
moving on to point number 2.
yeah, number 2,
Point number 2 will be like 4.
Okay.
so this is short courses.
Yeah.
7. But by short, one means things that only take a weekend or a week, or 4 modules over a month, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, learning by doing with opportunities to build or extend their own homes. So this is enabling people. So whilst actually doing things.
I think the influence could be very considerable, because it could be promoted through media that there's this course available, and extensions could be happening everywhere. It starts with the idea that people want more space, or want to use space better, and that there are people who potentially could be working on that, who no longer have jobs in the cities.
For third, I would say maybe 5 of 6.
In terms of effort.
Yeah.
Okay. Influence number, please.
Nick, we sort of, this is an initial go at this, right? So at least overall, what we're trying to say is that you guys understand the realm of influence that some of these activities could have. So
yeah,
in terms of the eco house and what you're trying to do, by say, for example, the training people, you want to enable people to have knowledge about building eco houses. So if you're going to ask people to actually build their own homes to develop these skills, does that have a significant impact? So I think that's how to view this. And it's just what is your initial reaction to that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 8.
Yeah, so we're gonna do like 20 seconds on the next one, okay?
Okay.
Skill training
Yeah.
would be like 3 or 4.
Okay.
4.
Okay,
And
number 5.
number 5 would be like 3 or 4. 4.
Okay, it's promotion of products to enable sustainable farming.
7.
Okay, number 6, run
5,
training
5,
courses
5.
at a variety of different academic levels for which the center could charge affordable fees.
6.
Number 7,
5.
compile all the existing initiatives, create a data set, identify the community's stakeholders.
Yeah, 8.
Point number 8, tours
Will
of
be
SCAD
4. 4.
facilities.
4.
Okay,
I
tours of
think the
SCAD
number,
facilities.
I think the tours, 9.
Okay, number 9,
Maybe 6.
4.
Mobile enable students updating will be 5.
10. This is based on the idea that people haven't got adequate digital links at the moment because of lack of energy or poor communications. So if we have a mobile unit, it will make a huge difference.
11 will be 5 or 6.
3.
5.
Yeah, 7. This is teaching people how to pass on skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number 13 is
Will be
host
6.
conferences, real and
6.
virtual.
8.
Okay.
Will be
Number
4.
14.
4.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah, we could ignore
7.
that.
Skip it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 15, use of IT to build understanding of best practice in meeting everyday needs. For example,
6.
cooking, toilet.
6. 6.
8.
Okay. Number 16. Oh, it's the same one.
That's
So
the
Yeah.
same one.
skip that. Yeah. Number 17.
Yeah.
6.
9.
Okay. Number 18.
Will be 4.
Don't know what that means. 5.
Number 19.
4 or 5. 5.
4.
5.
We're now on number 20.
Yes.
8.
Yeah.
Okay. 21.
Will be 6.
9.
Okay. Number 22.
6.
This is what people leaving money in their wills.
Yeah.
I don't know. 5.
Grant application, creating corpus fund.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yes, 8.
Okay. Number
4.
23.
4.
8.
5.
Okay. Number 24.
5.
4.
4,
I don't know, 5.
Okay.
4,
I mean, if you think that it doesn't make any influence, you could give a lower rating, Nick.
Okay, which one are we on now? 26?
yeah,
26. Yeah.
4, 4,
8. 8.
4,
27.
4,
7.
5,
Okay. 28.
3.
4,
8.
6,
Number 30.
6,
6.
31.
4,
9.
5,
Okay. 32.
7.
33.
6,
7.
6,
34.
6,
4.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So that's our list. So what I notice is that from the effort perspective, we didn't really go anything below 4, and from influence perspective, I think we didn't go anything below 3. So there has to be like a bit more of a normalization done. I'll just explain. There's one more method which we could use and how that turns out.
Yes, certainly. So these are the exercise that you're just going through. So there are 34 tasks. We've just plotted them. Now, I think perhaps we're seeing the influence of either the type of tasks that we've put down, that they're similar, so that we've seen very similar results. So what as Vimal was explaining earlier, the four different quadrants are meant to help you prioritize which tasks that you should take up immediately or much later. So the priority tasks are the things that we would consider that they have a high influence, but minimal effort. So do them now. The easy win tasks are the ones where, okay, it might not be high impact, but it might be low effort as well. So maybe worth doing as a second priority. The drive tasks are the ones where it has a high influence, but it needs a lot of effort to do. So maybe those are much longer term objectives. And the hold tasks are the ones we would suggest, well, actually, if you're getting very little influence or impact out of the effort that you're putting in, don't bother doing them, at least not for the time being. So that's the basic idea of the four quadrants. So the priority tasks are the ones that we would suggest you do now. Now, looking at this, so well, basically what you're seeing there, a great number of the tasks had very similar scores. So that's why they're overlapping there. What we'll do is we'll share the spreadsheet, but I'm not sure whether I can actually make out some of them. But in essence, we've got probably about 6 tasks there that are in the priority quadrant. So do those. Now, I'm not sure if I can make out from the spreadsheet. So I think we have number 8 and number 31, for example, are coming up.
Yeah.
So 8, 10, and 31 are probably the 3 highest ranked tasks.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if we're able to just see what those are as an example.
Can you read them out?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
just
it is going to. So basically, these are the numbers in total: 31, 8, 29, 23, and
so 8 and 31, let's just say.
yeah, okay. So 8 tours of SCAD facilities for groups from different colleges with presentation on sustainability principles. So basically, we think that from the rating, since it is high influence marked as 9 and the amount of effort it needs is on a lower side, so it kind of comes up as a high priority task which can be done with least effort, but then at the same time it has a very good influence.
Hmm. And then number 31.
Number 31 is this one, yeah, which is annual guest lectures from members of a board of advisors who endorse the program and give awards to groups who have made most progress.
Great. Yeah. And then, so that's just an example, at least, of the priority tasks, because they're low effort, but appear to be high influence from the ratings that the team is giving them here. It might be worthwhile, Vimal, if we just have a look at one of the low impact and low effort tasks.
Yeah.
So perhaps number 4 there. Task number 4.
Okay, so you want to go to the second quadrant, yeah. Yeah. So skill development.
Yes. Sorry, after you.
Skill development training, vocational training, educating farmers and women groups.
Yeah. So to me, that actually sounds like some of the others that we've done here. So this might just be a case of, we haven't put that much thought into it, which this is a quick fire exercise. So it gives you an initial feel. So we don't have many in the quadrant of easy win. So how about in the drive tasks? Let's have a look.
Yeah, I see one which is standing out, which is 10,
Yeah, and
10,
we also
21.
10, 21, and 17.
So 10 is mobile unit to enable students to update learning materials and submit work done.
17.
Offer to act as a test environment for corporates designing new sustainability products. And 21 is basically every SCAD course and program to include sustainability education element. And you can consistently see that, these are marked as high influence, like 9, 9, and 9. And the kind of effort it needs is 4, 6, and 6, a little bit on a higher side. And that's why it goes in that third quadrant.
Indeed. Yeah. So I guess if we could go back to the presentation. So yeah. The basic objective here is to try and group these tasks into priorities. So I think this exercise, as you can see from the ranking, it's sort of going on gut feel, and the gut feel tends to be around 7 anyway, right? For a lot of things. So ask a person to rank something from 1 to 10, they will say 7. But the overall idea here is that you can see where, one, the number of tasks, 2, which ones are tending towards these are priority, and which ones are tending to these are hard tasks. So we have number 11, for example, there is on the hard tasks. So maybe just leave it for the time. What would be worthwhile is actually just spending a bit more time. This is from the SCAD team, the rest of the team, to look at the task and actually to validate some of that score.
Yes.
Because you can go through that again. Yeah.
Is it possible to turn this into a sort of almost a little report to group? Because it seemed to me there was a very good set of ideas that have emerged. And in fact, if nothing else, this exercise has produced a sort of brainstorming effect, hasn't it? It's forced us to probably come up with many more ideas than would have happened if we were sitting talking to each other. But I guess I'm probably guilty, always have more ideas without necessarily thinking through the implications. So it seems to me that being able to then discuss these ideas more fully and refine them would be really worthwhile, rather than assuming that we've come up with a definitive answer. So it seems to me being able to group these into the categories you've suggested and feed them back as a little report would be really helpful if that's possible.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's a bit difficult to know which, you've got to keep referring back from the number to the list and so on.
Yeah, two comments there, Nick. One of the things we do is that the presentation will update it with this outcome. So the chart will be clearer in terms of what the numbers are,
Yes.
the ones in the different quadrants. And then we'll also include the tasks themselves from this brainstorming session we have. So you can see the tasks and then how we've grouped them.
Yes.
The other thing I'd say is, actually, I think the initial gut feel tends to be on the side of this is correct anyway. So whilst you might spend a bit more time actually evaluating and seeing whether your scores are more or less right, I'd say that the broad outcomes are probably likely to be the same, in that you'll have some that are harder to do and therefore don't do them now, and you have some that are worthwhile doing or easy to do, and you should probably consider implementing them. So
yes.
I think for sure it probably needs more than 10 minutes in evaluating them. And the team from SCAD should probably have a look at the scores as well, and we can send the Excel spreadsheet as well.
Yes.
And then just maybe just reconfirm your initial gut feel,
yes.
and then have another session to then decide, well, this is what we think should
okay.
happen.
Well, I'd love to hear from Charles whether he feels, having now tried this out, it has enabled some real progress to be made, and whether you do feel that you could take this technique, if you like, and apply it either to this particular issue or to other issues.
I feel that it has come out well, and it has given some insight that how we can go about. Even when we are prioritizing, we took some quick steps. But if you brainstorm the whole thing, and if you have a similar session, then I think that we can come out with a good idea or a perspective how to go about with the center. So maybe we should have another session whenever it's convenient for the team. We should have another, so that we'll have a little bit of time to go think through the whole process, what we did. Then we can have another session, I think.
Yes. Well, it seems to me that if the goal is to come up with what I would call a prospectus, a document, it may be something that's just web-based, it may be something that is linked to a video, the sort of presentation you made. If you can somehow, Charles, with your team, incorporate the most promising of these ideas into the prospectus, this can then be used in terms of getting support from others, not just ourselves. Because to my mind, the whole purpose is to build a capacity within SCAD and others who want to support SCAD to get something going over the next few months. It would be a great tragedy if we lost the impetus, I think, that these events are providing. So is it sensible that the next session we have a further presentation from Charles, really pitching the center, taking all the ideas, but somehow compressing them into a form that would get not just ourselves, but other organizations, maybe the municipality or a major business, to say, yeah, we endorse this. This seems like a good thing. This is filling a gap. Is that a sensible way forward, do you think?
Yeah.
And Jack, how do you feel? Would that progress things? I don't want to go over the same ground again and again, but on the other hand, I want to make sure we're continually moving forward.
I think this probably needs this session, the outcomes of this session need to be reviewed and confirmed, and it likely will include then some more items, because it's always the case that initially when you're brainstorming, you come with a bunch of stuff, but it's always the last item that you come up that actually is the one that is worthwhile, because it's taken some time to think about. So it probably, the recommendation, at least from our team, would be look at what the outcome here has been, validate and add some more, confirm that we internally in SCAD and Urbed, etc., and then move forward from them with implementation of whatever you've decided from those. I think that should be the next set of steps.
And can I also suggest that at the next session, which will be sometime in January, and I'd welcome proposals for a date, that we also think of bringing in others who might be helpful or crucial to getting the center established. So in other words, we're not just talking to ourselves again, but talking to people who might be ambassadors, if you like, for the center, and ideally sponsors as well. Does that seem reasonable, Charles?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll leave the precise topic up in to be resolved. I had originally thought that it would be quite good to get into construction at some point and the whole issue of how we overcome some of the obstacles to implementing principles that we all think are desirable, and to get the results of the work that Dinesh has been doing evaluating the Eco House discussed at one of these events. But maybe that should be at the fourth event, because one thing that seemed to get a lot of approval was this idea of what I would call study tours, visits. So I think we all feel there's enough to see already, even just the Chernama Devi campus, let alone some of the other campuses. There's so many books and wonderful proposals and so on, but you've actually got something to show there, which is in a sense a taste of the future. So it seems to me that working towards that as a way of getting the center promoted, launched, if you like, to the wider public would be a way forward. And having the reports which show that, yes, indeed, the Eco House is replicable and is affordable and all the things we like to believe it is. Does that, are you happy with that as a way forward, Charles and Jack in particular? Yeah.
Anandi, what do you think, Anandi?
Yes, we could actually proceed with that. We could go with what you are proposing. We could do that. We could have a discussion over here within SCAD, and then in the next session we could actually come out with more specific points on what we are going to do.
Okay. I mean, I'm very keen that it's not me. I want to provide help, but I very much want, if you can see another way of doing things or a better way, do, for goodness sake, say it, because I think we're all navigating in unknown waters. I mean, that's the essence, I think, of innovation. You don't quite know necessarily where you're going or even where you are, let alone how to get to where you want to be. But the important thing, I think, is not to be blown about by the winds, but to catch the winds and move somewhere that looks promising, if that all makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that this session here brought us a lot of very innovative ideas that how we can go about. Maybe we'll have a meeting within the team, and before end of next month, December, we'll bring out with a proper business plan so that in January we can start the center. A full-fledged work we can start.
Yes. One other thing, these terms I think are ambiguous, not always clear. I think that people in Britain perhaps typically use the word business plan to refer to things that have money attached with them in terms of how much it's going to cost and what income it's going to bring in. Whereas I use the term prospectus for a description of what a project is aiming to achieve, which doesn't necessarily have financial information. I mean, do anyone else have any views on that? Because I think, to my mind, you need the prospectus. You need to be thinking about what the costs are and what the income is going to be, but you don't necessarily have to have it all worked out at that stage. But that still has to be done to get the initiative off the ground. You're nodding, Jack. So
I am, yes. I think look, I think this really needs to be driven by whoever the end stakeholder is, and in this instance it's SCAD, isn't it? So one of them is just what are you trying to do, advocate. And if I just take this session as a sample, it's you want to do a bunch of training to advance sustainability skills within the communities that you want to impact. So that in and of itself just needs to be stated and sold in a suitable medium. The flip side to that is, of course, how you're going to implement that, and that needs some hard financials and some planning for the skills required, the center, etc., etc. But I think the initial instance is this activity that we've just gone through is the starting point of focus in minds in terms of tasks that need to be implemented.
Yeah. And each one of them can be funded separately. That's the beauty of it. Somebody might fund lectures who won't necessarily fund other forms of training. So the more one can think in terms of different products which appeal to different customers, the better. And you don't have to do it all at once.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of the next part, it's if we've gone through the steps, as we said, Nick, we don't want to necessarily be going over this time and time again. But once they're internally within SCAD and URBED, you've agreed on which are the priority tasks. The next bit then is implementation planning. So what are you going to do next? And I think we can then get involved in that stage as well to try and help out with the planning of that.
Yeah.
But I think for today, though, we'll send the presentation, updated with the results, as well as the Excel spreadsheet, so some internal validation can be done, and then we could take it from there.
Yes. And can I congratulate everyone? I think we may have done something amazing in being able to link up people from such different backgrounds in such different countries without running out of bandwidth, without without either an electrical breakdown or a nervous breakdown, speaking in languages which are quite strange about things we know very little about. So I don't think we should underestimate what we've done today. Thank you very much, everyone.
There's a lot right in that. Okay, brilliant. So we'll distribute the information after this call, and then I think we could talk details after.
Very good.
Thank you,
And
Jack,
actually, it will
John,
be
and the team for this wonderful work. It's a good support for us.
Glad, Charles.
Thanks to hear that, Charles, that it helps. And also, I think it will be good if you could, validate the Excel sheet and like give it back to us whenever you are ready, so that we could do a final version of it for you.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.